our birthday countdown program just crashes if the user provides an invalid input. For example, the program asks me which year were you born in. Let's say I say A, B, C, D. Clearly, this is not something the interpreter can convert to an integer, and hence when I click enter, the program just crashes. Similarly, let's say I provide a date which is not valid. So I say 1977, but say I say 15th month. Now 15th month doesn't exist. Hence, when I try to form the date, the date birth object, it just crashes. It says month must be between 1 to 12. Let us see how we can use a try and accept statement to make this a little bit more graceful so that the program doesn't crash. Instead, it completes its run and tells user that probably something went wrong. Let's first understand what does try accept do. So try and accept is this very interesting set of commands which tells our interpreter to try a piece of code. If there's no error, keep moving. If there's an error, however, do not crash. Instead, implement what is in the accept part. So it's always written like try colon some piece of code with an indentation, accept colon some piece of code with an indentation. So we are going to do exactly this, to make it a little bit more graceful, like I said. Now the question is, in our code, what exactly do we want the code to do? Remember, if the user enters everything correctly, then certainly we would want the user to be told about the birthday and also the countdown to be run. Which means that really we want all of this code really to be run as usual if the user values are correct. So what we are going to tell is that I'm going to put all of this inside a try statement. Now clearly I need to indent this. How do I indent all this lines together? Well, very simple. Select all of this and click on tab. Now notice the moment I click on tab, this entire code gets indented, one indent rightwards. And now I must go up here, on top of all this, and I'm going to say, look, try this, which means that after print, I said try this, so try if it's good. Now anywhere if there's an error, any kind of error, it's going to come back here. So I'm back to the base indentation and write here accept, and in the accept I can write probably something like print, maybe so say invalid values, or say maybe incorrect values, please enter again. Now mind you, any error will bring you here. Let's just see what's going on. So now when I run this code, for example, so basically if I say, let's say go and say A, B, C, D, notice the program did not crash, just told me incorrect values, please enter again. Before I move on, let us briefly look at what happened with the indentations. Now notice we had this code. Now this is sort of like a high level view of the code. So we had a user input, creation of the date birth object, creation of the this year birthday, comparison the current time, determining next birthday is this year or next year, and then the countdown. There's a little bit more detail, but these are the broad objects of the code. Let's say broad pieces of the code. Now recall that comparison with the current time as well as the countdown involved if and while loop if else condition and a while loop respectively, which means there was already an indentation. But what we have really done is that we have taken all of this, all right, including these indentations, and moved it all one level inside, which means the if else is now kind of two levels, likewise as the while, right? So we don't have to worry about it because that has all been done. Take it all inside, and now we have indented this, and except also has come inside an indentation. Now that part is very important because that's how the code is organized. But now think about it. If my user provides an invalid value or an incorrect date, both of these are going to give me the same kind of result, which says incorrect value, because any error practically is getting caught inside this except statement. Let's see how we can make this a little bit more clear for our user. Let's say we say, okay, I want to tell my user that the values were probably numbers, all right, but they could not be converted into a datetime object. So what I can do is that I can look here. Okay, look, let's say in my case, line number 11 is where this datetime object is formed. So I want to tell my interpreter, hey, look, if everything is good, then I want you to try, let's say, this piece of code, this entire piece of code. Now be careful in selecting this. The except should not be selected, but I want to try all this. So I'm going to give it a tab here. And again, I go up here and I say just before this date birth, I go and say try, so basically it's telling you, okay, try to create the the date time object. If you can, that's very good. If you cannot, however, do not panic, right? Because I'm going to tell you what to do in the except statement. Now be very careful on these indentations because those are important, right? I've come back to the same indentation level as the try that this except is representing. So in this case, I can just give it a bit more, clearer message. I can tell my user, hey, look, so I come in here. Yeah. I say print, for example, say invalid date. Date, please enter again. Now, when I run my program, let's see what happens. So if I run this code, so whichever you want, let's say I say 1977, I say maybe 13, and then I say maybe 1. Now, clearly this is an invalid date, so it catches invalid date, and then it tells me a better idea. I mean, it gives me a better idea that, okay, look, I did not, mischievously give a string which cannot be converted to, let's say, an integer, but instead I gave an invalid date. Now, before I wrap this up, let me just, show you once again what's happening with the indentations, because that is very, very important. Really, what we have done is that we have put one more try and except. Now, this try and except is inside this try and except, which means it's kind of already nested. So what we are telling is that put the try and except, try this. If this goes through, very good. Try creating the birth date, the date birth object, which is a date time object. If that goes through, very well. Else, come here and tell invalid date. And anyway, if this had gone wrong, then we would get an invalid date. We will get an, let's say, incorrect value. So with this, you can imagine the user has a little bit more clarity on what has happened. But I must warn you that any other error here also will trigger invalid date, because practically any error is being caught into just this statement. So, you can further refine this, but I hope this gives you an idea. Pay attention to the indentation, because that part is actually very, very important. And I hope you found this useful. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.